what was different and potentially special was the obvious the elephant in the room, that you cannot have visitors in, so it's a different process entirely. But what made that special, through not being with those colleagues in person on a face-to-face basis, was the desire to overcome that barrier, to overcome that problem, and the desire still to help schools to improve, to learn about themselves, and to gain, as I said before, different perspective. And I think that's really important, that there is still a need and a desire to strategically improve your school moving forward, because I'm sure other head teachers like me will be feeling on a day-to-day basis that all they do is deal with COVID crisis, whether that be with members of staff that are having to self-isolate, whether that be getting the dreaded call where you might have to send a whole year group home. So in terms of moving your school forward, it can often be quite a difficult thing to do, whereas I felt that this ability to come together, ability to work with professionals from other schools, and this desire to still keep that moving, that was what made it really special. Because quite a lot of the time I'm trying to put my best foot forward, and I'm trying to show people positivity and give lots of energy, and that's not always easy. So to be working with other colleagues, even though it was remote, to be working with other colleagues with such positivity and colleagues that brought ideas and solutions, that's what made it special.
It's that we had time to talk to leaders across the school. So we spent quite a lot of time with middle leaders. In the school I was in, the head was very concerned that we wouldn't get the sort of feel of the building, the sort of passion and the energy. But actually talking to these young middle leaders about their subjects and their hopes and what they wanted to lead across the school, that absolutely did come through, which was lovely. And it was nice to just sit with people and talk about their passions and their leadership without any distractions or interruptions. So it really was, so that was rather a lovely thing to do.
The strong things for us was to develop that relationship with the lead reviewer before the actual virtual review. And so we were able to have those meetings beforehand and very clearly state which documents we were going to present. Also to make it really clear how the organisation of the technology was going to take place, so that that didn't distract any leaders. We wanted to make sure that members of our office and administration staff could be responsible for that, so that we could focus on school improvement and talk about those areas with the virtual reviewers. And I guess for me, then the whole thing then flowed, because what we could then do is we developed our timetable to really think about our school improvement areas, and for us it was a great way in which to celebrate what we've been doing in school, but also it was a way to celebrate the remote learning that was taking place as well across our school. We, like many schools, have had to send bubbles home, classes home, because of this current pandemic. But we wanted to see whether, having done that, what our children thought about it, what our parents thought about it, what the governors thought about it, and to use this virtual QAR as a real learning tool to develop best practice in the future. So it's able to celebrate and also to develop what we were doing virtually. So again, it was sort of using that virtual platform to be able to develop virtual learning.
One of the things that worked quite nicely was somebody set up a Google Doc whilst we were doing the review, and had different categories on it. So what we could do was update that document live as we went along, because you couldn't have all those pink and green post-it notes everywhere and start gathering them all together. So that was the equivalent. But actually I thought that worked really, really well, because we could then start looking for patterns and trends. So as you're typing in your own notes, you could see what was happening with the other discussion groups sort of immediately and start picking out those trends that were coming through. So certainly in our own school, we've been using Google Docs a lot more, where we've got an ongoing piece of work so people can contribute to that, and we can keep it updated as we go along.
My top tips for any leader who's apprehensive in moving ahead with a vQAR is be open-minded, because any opportunity that you've got to bring fresh perspective to your school, especially in a period such as now, is going to give you ideas, insights to help you to shape improvements for the young people in your care. And even though it's different to a standard quality assurance review, it still brings ideas. And we've already started to shape and get excited about our strategy moving forward, notably with the way in which we use evidence to justify any of our strategies, to the way in which we formalise our approach to sharing best practice within departments. And what the process took us through this time was saying, actually, yes, there are barriers, for instance, to formalising sharing best practice, because it's very difficult to get people in a room, but it's not impossible. And through the virtual quality assurance review that we've just been through, it has really helped us to see things potentially differently than we would have without going through that process. So again, just a great experience for us.
In terms of sort of final thoughts about the whole experience, I wasn't sure if it could work, and what I do know is that it does work and it's different, and we're actually used to doing things differently now. We're very resilient and we just get on with it. So absolutely it did work. It did require very strong leadership from the lead reviewer. She did a fantastic job, because she had to pull it all in quite tightly to make sure that once we went off in our little groups, we didn't all go off on a tangent, which people can do from time to time. So that was useful. So I think it is reassuring to know that it does work. It's different, but it does work. And hopefully the school we reviewed have got, you know, some useful things to help them on their journey to improve even more, because it was a great school, but to move forward even better. Yeah.
The whole experience was valid, it was useful, it's been informative, and it is helping our school to improve even in an era and a period of time where I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to move forward strategically. It felt like at best we were going to be able to tread water to survive and to try and do the best for our young people. But the fact is, this process is informing strategic improvement.